Welcome back to our EDH deck interview series. Today we'll be talking about one of the most hated generals in the format.
Yep, we're going to introduce Erayo. This is a deck we were really hesitant to put up because a lot of players find it really annoying to play against. It's kind of a prison style heavy control deck. Erayo herself isn't so intimidating. She's a 2-cost 1/1, but when you play four spells in a single turn, she is going to flip over and then counter the first spell played by each opponent each turn. So basically, in a multiplayer format, you're countering a ton of spells, and there's not a whole lot that they can do about it unless they're blowing extra cards to try to take care of your now legendary enchantment. The annoying part comes when this card's paired with Arcane Laboratory. Arcane Laboratory says each player can't play more than one spell each turn. So with Erayo's flip and Arcane Laboratory resolved, basically you lock all other players out of playing any cards from their deck. This deck is super hot. It's very fun to play with. We went ahead and foiled this one out almost all the way. I have a couple of cards in some of our other decks, so we're going to go through card choices.
Tell us about the mana base for this deck.
This one's pretty easy on the old wallet. Basically, you start off with about 30 to 32 basic lands, and from there we're going to add in some non-basics. On this particular deck, we picked our very favorite Foil Island, and just ordered a whole bunch of those from Star City Games.
Take us through some of the non-basic lands.
We have Academy Ruins for some tricks with some of the artifacts that you're going to see later. We have some staple non-basics for blue, Reliquary Tower, which belongs in every EDH deck, especially this one drawing lots of cards. Some Transmute Islands, Tolarian Academy, very strong in blue with a lot of artifacts. We have Artifact Land, and then just a couple other ones that are fun. We play a lot of wizards in this deck, so Riptide Laboratory will return one to your hand, and Maze of Ith rounds out the list, as well as Strip Mine.
Tell us about the creatures in this deck.
Okay, the creature base kind of has a theme to it. It's all going to be blue wizards, and one of the main reasons is we're packing the Zombie Lady of the Scrolls so you can draw lots and lots of cards. We'll just move through some of the great wizards that we have in the deck. There's all kinds of different utility wizards. They counter spells, they draw cards. They're going to do all kinds of fun things, kick things back to their hand. We got wizards that steal creatures. We got wizards that counter spells, like just about every kind of wizard you can think about. This wizard has the Reliquary Tower effect. Then we have a couple of utility guys that are great wizards. Teferi, of course. Mages of the Future is going to combo with some of our card draw. And we have some Trick Bind type effects. This guy is pretty awesome. He's a wizard, and also you can morph and redirect effects in the game. This guy is not a wizard, but good card draw. And then we'll round out with Descendant of Saramo and Trinket Mage, who's a good little utility wizard.
The blue deck must run a lot of counter spells. Show me some of them.
Yeah, that's one of the main facets of the deck we're running through, and we have all the famous counter spells, Cryptic, things that are kind of like counter spells, things that stifle. We got Pact of Negation. Hinder is a great one. Repeal, little removal. Just kind of go. Some of them are really cheap because we're trying to satisfy that 4 cards played in a single turn, and some of them untap lands so you can play extra cards early and you can set up your lock. You'll notice that like some of these are not optimal, but they're either really cheap or free or untap lands. Counter spells. Last word's always good. Arcane Denial might be in here because I think I have Force of Will taken out into one of our legacy decks.
If there's one thing that blue does well, it's draw cards.
Yeah, we have tons of card draws. About my favorite card draw in EDH. Font of Mythos. We're throwing down Compulsive Research. The enchantment gives us draw. Ancestral Visions Classic. We have things to pitch for Thirst of Knowledge. Riptide Director is a good card draw. Future Sight is going to end up being card draw for us because we're going to have Sensei's Divining Top. and we're also going to have cards like Impulse, Opportunity, and Brainstorm.
Earlier we saw that you have Tolarian Academy in this deck. Let's go over some of the artifacts that make that work.
Okay, we have tons of islands for Vindalcan Shackles, Sensei's Divining Top, Chrome Mox, Lotus Petal, Tormod's Crypt, and Isochron Scepter. We also have inclusion of Darksteel Ignite, Mana Vault, Coalition Relic, Soul Ring, and Mind's Eye. Together, those are good utility. They help us ramp and also pull off some good tricks.
It looks like you have some Planeswalkers to match your card draw effects and artifacts.
Alright, Jace is going to give us even more card draw, and Tezzeret's great with all the artifacts. He can untap or search out just about anything you need.
And now for some tutors.
Alright, you have so much card draw that you don't really have to tutor that much, but we still have a couple of staples. Drift of Phantasms gives you a Transmute, Intuition replaces Gifts Ungiven, and then we have the staple cards of Mystical Tutor and Merchant Scroll.
Are there any special tricks or card synergies to be aware of with this deck?
For sure, aside from the luck that we talked about, you have lots of good synergies. We have lots of wizards that can be kicked back with Riptide Laboratory. You got Trinket Mage to go fish out all kinds of good artifacts. Basically, you can do that over and over again. So many wizards makes a Zami pretty deadly, and with a Reliquary Tower, you can have a hand size that can give your opponents a real hassle with all of the card draw and the number of counters that you have. You have like the more common blue tricks like Magus of the Future and Future Sight with Sensei's Divining Top. You can draw a ton of cards off the top of your deck. And basically we go back to the key strategy of the deck, which is play lots of cheap cards, lots of cheap counter spells, and then untap lands and basically get your flip on Erayo and make it a hassle for anybody else to play cards. As you can see with all the counter and card draw, Erayo can be one of the most dominant and interesting generals to play, but also you got to watch out building this deck because it'll certainly make you one of the most hated players in the room.